right, we may have a few more pop in. That's fine. Just so you know, I am recording this meeting um, for the benefit of those for whom neither of the times worked, so that they can, check it out and make sure that they didn't miss anything. Although, to be fair, I think if you read through the syllabus and, look carefully at the Canvas site and the MyLab sites, you can learn most everything that you need to know. And of course, I will always entertain questions, but welcome. Thank you for joining me this evening. As I said earlier, I will try not to keep you too long, but I want to make sure that you all know about all the resources that we have here for you, both in Canvas and in MyLab, and on campus as well. Things that are available to you to help you be successful in this course. Most important one is me. Um, I'm your instructor. I'm Sarah Jones, and I've been teaching at City College for 22 years now. Yeah, yeah, I've been here a while. I have been an adjunct all this time, because my full-time job is, let somebody else in there. My main full-time job is caring for my oldest son, who is a bedbound quadriplegic. So my days are quite full with that. But uh, yeah, I enjoy doing this. So it's nice that I can still do it via Zoom. And thank you. Um, Anyway, so welcome. What we're going to do is go over some information from the Canvas site, from the syllabus, which is on the Canvas site. I'm not going to do a full read through of the syllabus because apparently that's very boring. And yeah, it is. Syllabi are boring, but it's important information. And legally, we do have to make sure that you all, know it's there and have access to it. So putting it on Canvas is the easiest way. Back in the days when I taught in classroom, we would sit there and go through the whole thing. But I trust you all enough to figure you're going to read through all the details that you need to know. So I'll just touch on the highlights. I'm going to show you the My IT Lab site for our course and make sure you know where to go and what to do there. But there are a number of videos that I've put on the Canvas site that will walk you through various processes. So I'm not going to walk you through the process of creating your MyLab account or your Pearson account. I note that a few of you have already done that. That's terrific. Several of you are taking advantage of the 14-day free trial, which makes sense. Why let them have your money until you know for sure that everything is going to work out here? Sometimes you get started in a class and you realize, hey, this is not going to work for me right now or ever or something, and I long ago stopped taking that personally. So, it makes sense to use the 14-day free trial until, you're sure that everything is going to work out. But I do need everybody to get those accounts, get them going. And, if you are going to stick with the class, make sure that you get that fully paid up and activated in a very short time, hopefully before that 14 days runs out, because if you wait after that, it's very difficult to negotiate that. But at any rate, let me start by sharing my screen and taking you over to our Canvas site. So that would be that one, which right now is launching this meeting. And then we'll go over there and to our home page. Okay, could a couple of you give me a thumbs up if you can see the homepage there, the CIT-15 week 1. Lovely, perfect, thank you, I appreciate that. I just like to make sure that you're seeing what I want you to be seeing. Now I'm going to change over to student view so that it looks like what you see when you come in, because I see very different things. So anyway, here we are on our Canvas site. This is the homepage for week 1. And I change this every Monday morning. Have a little reminder that goes off on my phone that reminds me to change the homepage and put money in my payroll account. All these important things a person has to do on Monday mornings. At any rate, our weeks begin Monday morning and end just before midnight on Sunday night. So your due dates on assignments are all going to be that just before midnight Sunday night. Okay? I like that because it gives you the weekend when people have a little bit more free time, or most people. Obviously, if you have a job where you work weekends and that doesn't work for you, but you have the whole rest of the week. So um, at any rate, we'll talk about assignments and due dates in a minute, but on the home page, you're going to find a fairly visual presentation of new material for this week. Obviously, this is our first week, so there's a lot going on here. We have a little motivational video. I will forewarn you, this video has some strong language in it, and if that would bother you, don't watch it. It's not required. I would not want anybody to watch something that they would be offended by. So anytime something like that pops up, it is entirely optional, although you may find it interesting and uh, pertinent. Who knows? But it's your choice. So um, a reminder to review the syllabus on your own, and we're going to look at parts of it. A reminder to register with my lab, Pearson. Pearson owns educational online everything. Actually, no, there are two. There are two big guns. There's Pearson and there's McGraw-Hill. Pearson seems to have a stranglehold on just about everything that I come into interaction with these days, though. My husband just had to do a major exam for his credential through Pearson. My daughter is finishing up her certifying her teaching credential through Pearson. Everything is Pearson. They're getting so much of our family's money. Anyway, we'll talk in detail about that. Information on how to download Microsoft Office for free. You will need the actual Office programs, and this is a good time to let you know that it's also a very good idea that you have a Windows computer. There are Office program versions for Mac, for Apple computers, but they are slightly different, and you may not find all the features that you need. Now, for the most part, for most of our labs, for most of the My Lab stuff, it doesn't matter because it's all web-based online simulations. You may run into a few keyboard differences, but the online simulations have a built-in virtual keyboard. So you can use that anytime it requires you to use a key that a, an Apple computer doesn't have, um, like the control key and things like that. And certain other things work differently, so that virtual keyboard is there. But each of our applications programs that we're going to be working on during this course, PowerPoint, Word, and Excel, have a practical exam once you finish doing the simulations that uses the real software. Now, what you get when you do this download Microsoft Office for free, there's two different things that you have access to as students at City College. You have access to Office 365, the web-based version of it, which is a very streamlined version of Office. But you also have the full version. It's not the same as Office 2019 or Office, what are we up to, 21? I don't know. I haven't seen 21 yet. Keep waiting to hear if we're going to be moving to that, but so far we haven't. At any rate, it is a more complete version of Office 365 that is installed on your computer rather than being web-based. It does include access, which, although you don't need it for this class because we don't cover access, we do that in CIT-15, not CIT-12. If you see the icon for access, then you know you're getting the right thing when you go to install this. So that's the way you know that you're getting the thing that you need for those practical exams. So there's a video. It's by Mark Forestier, one of our CIT professors, and it will guide you through the process of downloading that. There's a reminder to check in for attendance. You can do that anytime during the week. It's a silly little one question true false quiz. It's I'm here and the answer is true. False was funny once, many semesters ago. And if you answer false, you get a 0 instead of a didn't do it. So I'll know that you did it. So you might as well just answer true. It gives me something to report on at the end of the course because we're expected to report attendance, and it's just a lot easier than my trying to go through and see if everybody did some sort of activity during each week of the course. It takes you probably less than 30 seconds to do. So if you could do that for me, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. So there's information about doing the reading for this week. So we start this week with chapter 1, and there's a lecture that you can watch on that. That's me. So rather than having to come to a Zoom meeting and listen to me talk, you can watch this lecture at your leisure when you have the opportunity to do it. You can stop it in the middle and watch the rest of it later. You can do it however works for you. And that's what I love about teaching asynchronous online classes, is you have the freedom to work on these things when it's convenient and appropriate for you. You also will find maybe some other videos that I think are pertinent. One thing you'll see as you go through the homepage, anytime you see something with a blue check mark, that indicates that it's something you need to do for your grade. If there's no blue check mark, then you could probably get away with not doing it. Like, do you have to watch the lecture? No. Will you be better off if you do? Yeah, because you probably do better on the quiz, which you do have to do for your grade. So anything with a blue check mark is something that you need to do for your grade, whether it's something that gets done on my lab or something that gets done here in campus. And usually there's a link to wherever it is that you do that thing. Speaking of my lab, here's your first one, Windows. Might as well start out with exploring the environment that you're going to be working in. And plus it gives you, a nice intro to how these simulations work before you get into the ones that are dealing with more complicated applications. So I've got a video there on how to get into those simulations and how they work, and what's the best way to approach them. And we'll take a more detailed look at that later. Is that it for that homepage? No, I think that's it for that homepage. Now, for every week, there is also a module. So let me move over to the left and click on modules. The modules are much more streamlined. I'm going to close down all those extra ones. You can open these up or collapse them so that you're not looking at all the details for all of them, but we'll just look at week 1 here. So it's not nearly as pretty, but it just gets right to the point. So you can approach this whatever way works for you. So at the top, we see all the course content. So information about what's going on this week, links to videos that I think are pertinent or that will help you in doing other things. And then there's a whole separate section for the stuff that is necessary to be done for your grade. So there's that group there: graded assignments, attendance, the discussion, the quiz, the Windows lab. So you can go straight to the stuff that you've got to do for your grade, or you can spend some time looking around the course content for that week, however you want to work it. It's entirely up to you. Um, you will note that the due dates are here for those graded assignments. And let me just take a moment to talk about due dates. Um, we're on a short schedule here. Um, Usually when I introduce new material, you get 2 weeks to finish it. So I think that's pretty generous considering the short schedule we've got. So anything introduced this week is due at the end of next week. But you have a grace period after that where you can still turn it in, although there is a small points penalty for being after the due date. And it gets bigger every day you go past that due date. But the most it ever is I believe 21%. So you can still get a really good solid C on anything, even if you wait till the absolute last second it's available to turn something in. I don't recommend it. I think you've got plenty of time to get things done. Plus, almost everything is there and available already. You don't have to wait for that week to pop up to be able to do it. So if you're one of those people that likes to, when you've got some spare time, charge in and get ahead of things, you can. The only things you can't do ahead of time are the attendance, because that has to be done during the appropriate week, and the final exam. That doesn't come available until the last week of the course. Anything else is available now and you can do it. But your 2 weeks for completion start the week that I consider that thing to be introduced, even though it's already been available for several weeks, maybe. So now, obviously, we lose some of that as we get to the end of the semester because we get up against that. We start losing that grace period, and then we lose having a full 2 weeks, which is why I make everything available right from the start. Because really, that last week of the course, I want you to be focusing on getting that final done and getting those last things finished, like the practical exam in Excel, because people tend to put that off until the last minute. For some reason, people don't seem to enjoy Excel as much as I do. I'm very peculiar. But then I was an accountant before I became a teacher, so it's natural I would like Excel at any rate. Okay, so there's the modules version. You can work from either of them, the homepage or the modules. The homepage, you're only going to see the one for that particular week. Although I think once we get past week 1, there are links in the homepage to the previous week's stuff. So you can, click back through if you really want to do it from the homepage. But everything is here in the modules. There's also a link directly to all the discussions, although the discussions are all listed in all of your graded assignments. Interestingly, I always ask for feedback at the end of a course, and more I'm hearing from everybody that the thing that they seem to be enjoying most about this course is the discussions. And I've tried to make them things that I think are interesting, and things that you can learn something from before usually there's like a video or something to read or learn about before you comment. It's not just a question that you need to respond to, but there's 2 parts to the discussion responses. First, you're going to do your own response to the prompt. And I'm not looking for big dissertations there. A couple of sentences is great. But people seem to have a lot to say, and that's terrific. I really enjoy reading what you guys have to say about many of these topics. And to be honest, that even surprises me a little bit now that I've had this set of discussion questions for a couple of semesters. You'd think I'd be bored by now, read it all, seen it all. No, people are still coming up with interesting things that, new perspectives on stuff, and comments about things that I didn't think of. So I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say about a lot of this. And I hope that you will find them interesting. Once you've done your initial response to the prompt, you will be able to see the responses posted by other students. And you need to then respond back to them. Okay? And I'd appreciate it if you could start that response with a hi, so and so, their name. That way, it's easy for me to tag that that's a response to another student when I'm looking at things and grading them. You get the majority of your points for the discussion based on your own response to the prompt, and then you get the rest of the points for doing a response to another student. Um, and it's perfectly okay to disagree with what they had to say or to tell them you think they're wrong, as long as you're polite about it. It's part of what makes this interesting is that we all have different viewpoints and different perspectives and different experiences. And some people may not have the same experiences that you have and maybe could learn from that. Or you may learn something from something that somebody else said. I've seen a lot of times where people comment, I never really understood it from that point of view before. So uh, just, be polite, and it's perfectly okay to disagree. It's perfectly okay to agree, but it's not enough to just say, I agree. You have to be specific about what it is you're agreeing with. So either say specifically what point they made that struck you and that you agree with, or, rephrase it in your own words, something, just I agree is not enough. That's cheating. Well, no, it's not cheating. It's just taking the easy way out. So let's again, I'm not looking for dissertations, and you're not being graded on your writing skills. uh, I'm more interested in what you have to say. So that's how the discussions work. The quizzes they're not tests. I know it says quiz, but it's not really a test. Think of it more as a learning activity. What my goal is with those quizzes is for you to use them as a way to focus on the stuff that's in that chapter that is most important. So if you want to take that quiz with the quiz open on one side of your screen and the book open on the other side, and find those answers as you read through the questions by using the search feature in the textbook, is that okay? Absolutely. Of course it's okay. Are you learning? Yes, because you're looking at a question, you're finding the answer to the question. That's learning. Okay? And that's what we're after here. You can take those quizzes as many times as you like until you're happy with your score. I will let you know that the questions will change slightly each time you take it, because the questions are drawn from a pool and they're going to be slightly different. I suppose if you take it enough times, you will see all of the different questions. But the questions themselves are only, or the quizzes themselves are only 20 questions, and there's at least 35 questions in each pool for each chapter. So, if you want to see how many, different ones you can get, that's fine. But what I see is just the highest score you achieved. Um, I can probably look and see how many times it took you to get that, but I'm probably not going to, because that's your choice. If you want to spend the extra time to get a better score, or just to see what other questions are there, that's entirely up to you. I'm just going to look and see what your highest score is. And since that's automatically graded in Canvas, I'm not even going to be grading it myself. I'm just going to look and see what your score is. So, um, have fun with it. The labs, those happen in my IT lab. Sorry, my lab IT. They changed the name a few semesters ago, so I slip up every now and then. I try to remember to say it the right way. Which, again, Pearson product. It's an online simulation. Well, my lab has a lot more than just the online simulations. That's where you're going to find your textbook, and we're going to go and look at that in a couple of minutes. So your e-textbook is there. Now, You can get a physical copy of that textbook if you are bound and determined to. It will not be bound. You'll get a packet of 3-hole punched sheets that you will have to put in your own 3-ring binder, and they charge you $25 for it. And I so far have never had anybody spend the extra $25. Don't see why you would, but some people just really like to have a physical textbook. I mean, I'm an ebook person myself. The only time I buy physical books anymore, definitely not textbooks. Usually it's art books or pattern books for weaving or knitting or something like that. Or it's some, really important piece of literature or something. Oh, yeah, souvenir books from art museums and things like that. Those I like. Yeah, but those are the only actual physical books I buy. Oh, hello, Gilbert. One of my dogs just came in. Um, so anyway, what happens with the simulations, the labs in my lab? Oh, I didn't get finished telling you all the things that are on Pearson. There's the simulations, the labs where you learn about the applications. There's your e-textbook. There's actually another e-textbook that has to do with the applications, which you can read if you like. But you can learn just about everything you need to learn from the simulations themselves. I've turned on training mode in all of them. The practical exams are there, but the way those work is you download files, do the thing in the actual software, then take your finished resulting file and upload it back to my lab, and it grades it. So it's kind of a hybrid. But your final exam is also there. So a lot of stuff going on in my lab. But simulations, the labs, we'll talk about that right now. You do those, it grades it. At this point, my lab does not communicate well enough with Canvas for me to be able to automatically move those grades over into Canvas. So I physically do it. I download a spreadsheet of your scores and I plug them into Canvas with my own little 10-key pad. So if you don't immediately see your score in both places, it's because I haven't moved grades over that day. I usually do it at least 2 to 3 times a week. If you're just desperate to see your scores all in Canvas, you can pop me a message and I will do an update. I'm happy to do that. And of course, feel free to pop me a message at any time if you need help with anything at all. But I do download the scores regularly. And I will often send out reminders about things coming up due that people don't have submissions for yet or something like that, just to make sure that something's coming up and if you haven't done it yet, might be time to take a look at that. But yeah, those grades get moved manually over to Canvas. So while there is a slot for all of those assignments here in Canvas, there is nothing that you actually do in Canvas. If you go to the page for that assignment, there's nothing there but a link to my lab. And it's just a link to the main My Lab page. It's not going to take you to your account or to that assignment or anything like that, because I don't know how we would do that at any rate. So that's the labs there. What else have we got? There's the Zoom link, which you used maybe to get to this meeting tonight. This is the only time we'll use that this week. Other than that, my office hours are all in my personal Zoom room, which you can't schedule meetings for. So there's a link for office hours. Hang on, let me go to week 2. Yeah, there's a link for office hours in the home pages for every week and in the modules for each week. Just week 1, you're here for this meeting. So I didn't put one in there for that. No, I didn't. Anyway, There's a link to the syllabus. We're going to look at that in a second. And of course, a link to check your grades, links to the library and tutorial services. And I will be sending you out an email, well, probably a Canvas message rather than an email, with information about the CIT tutoring services that are available. Those are tutors that are specifically devoted to our courses, not just general purpose tutors. So if you feel the need to avail yourself of their services, I want you to know that that's available. There's also a link to Name Coach, which I can't click on from student view from here. Anyway, if you haven't done this for another class, it would be so delightful if you would do that. Name Coach is a service where you plug in your phone number and it calls you and you record a message where you pronounce your name, which is wonderful since not everybody's name is quite as obvious as mine is. My kids' names, on the other hand, are very interesting. You know, when your last name is Jones, you give your kids interesting first names so they stand out from the crowd a little bit. Um, but anyway, I like to get people's names right, and I like to pronounce them the way they would like to have them pronounced. So I would appreciate it so much if y'all would do that. And it, gives you a chance, if there's a nickname or something like that that you prefer, you can, plug that in. You also have the option to specify your preferred pronouns if that's something that you would like to do. We also have another service. I just got a message about that through your portal, that you can do the same thing where you can say your preferred name. I don't think it has a thing where you can record yourself saying it. You can just type in what it is. If you prefer a nickname, or if you prefer to go by your middle name or something completely different, and whatever, you can do that and specify pronouns, and that would be through your student portal. I'm not sure what it looks like because I just got the message on it today, but you might want to check that out. There's also the virtual hub for students and the student chat. I haven't had anybody ever use the chat, but people do interact quite a bit in the discussions, so that's nice. At any rate, let's go and take a look at that syllabus. Again, I'm not going to read you the whole freaking thing because I'm told that's very dull, and I don't want to bore anybody. But anyway, here's important information like who I am and the fact that I have no office because I'm adjunct and I teach only Zoom classes. My email is there, although it is actually a better idea to contact me through the Canvas message service. I mean, at least for the first week, I check both of them constantly. But after the first week, I tend to check the email only a couple times a week, but I check the Canvas message inbox several times a day, just because it's, there on my screen all the time while I'm working in this room. If you have an emergency that you need to contact me because of, you can leave a message with the business division office, but it's actually probably going to get to me faster if you just leave me a message through the Canvas inbox. Office hours. My personal Zoom room will be open, same hours that we're doing these meetings this week. So Monday evenings at 7:30 and Wednesday afternoons at 3. There's the link there. And of course, it's in all of the modules. So you can just pop into that Zoom room. And I'm happy to set up meetings at other times if neither of those work for you and you need some help with something. I have no problem with that. As I mentioned earlier, my main job is here at home caring for my son. So I'm pretty much here most of the time. I do manage to get out a little bit on late Tuesday and Thursday afternoons because I have a nurse that comes and cares for him for a bit so that I can run errands. But other than that, I'm pretty much home. Thank God for delivery services, right? Yeah. Anyway, basic course information. We're CIT-12, computer literacy, all that good stuff. I'm pretty sure I updated all of this to be correct for this course, because you're my second 9-week course this semester. I did 42501, just finished last week. Important dates as far as last day to add, last day to drop, last day to drop with no W, that sort of thing, when spring break is. That was very frustrating. You know, we have the ability when we copy a Canvas course to have it automatically adjust dates. And so I did that when I copied this course over for the second 9 weeks. And I thought everything was perfect until I realized it didn't have any ability to allow for spring break. So I had to go through and change all the dates for 2/3 of everything, yeah, because we hit spring break pretty soon. Information about the course, text and materials. So my IT lab and the textbook are all through that Pearson account. The best way to get that account is directly through my lab. Although if you are using student financial aid to pay for class materials, you probably have to go through the bookstore to get your access code. And fingers crossed, they have ironed out all the difficulties with the bookstore access codes. But I'm not outrageously hopeful. We have had nothing but trouble with those. So I strongly urge you, if at all possible, to purchase your access code directly through Pearson. It's cheaper. It's like $79 and it's $125.30 from the bookstore. So yeah. Anyway, you will need the code for this class. That's the yellow highlighted Fresno City College 25659. And again, fingers crossed, I have updated that every place that it's mentioned. I went through several things, hoping I covered them all. But if you have a problem, holler. I'll make sure that you have the actual right one. So you'll need that. Again, as I mentioned earlier, you can do a 14-day free trial. So you don't have to pay right away, but you will need your email address. And I suggest that you use your student email rather than a personal email. And that code in order to create the account and get started with MyLab. And I strongly urge you to jump on that as soon as possible. And thank you to those of you who already have done so. I appreciate that. So anyway, you need to jump on that. Student learning outcomes, basically, what we're here to accomplish. Use a word processor, use a spreadsheet. We're also going to do a presentation program, PowerPoint specifically. Demonstrate fluency in computer terminology and the use of information systems in business. The advisory, basically what we're saying with that is, if English is not your first language and you struggle a bit, you may struggle a bit with this class. Now, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't take this class. It just means you might need a little bit of help, which we're delighted to provide. We just need to know. Okay? Again, this course will make extensive use of Canvas. Yep, we're right here. If you haven't used Canvas before, reading this is not going to help you any because you would have to already be here to get that. There are instructions in your student portal at the regular college website. Here's what everybody is concerned about: grading. Okay? The various categories of assignments are weighted. So they're all worth a certain number of points, but then all those points are put together and your total points for that category are worth a certain percentage of your grade. Like the discussions are 20%, the quizzes are 25%. Remember, the quizzes are not tests, they are learning activities. Like my air quotes there. The labs are 30%. Yeah, that's pretty heavy. Lab tests, 15%. So 45% of your grade is based on applications. I would make it more because I think applications are very important. But yeah, I go with the general guidelines that they give us for these classes. The final exam is 10% of your grade. Here's some good news about the final. It's 100 multiple choice questions. It uses the same question pool that those quizzes use. So there are no questions on that exam that you haven't had the chance to see before. They're all there. Yeah. Plus, this is an asynchronous online class. So the exam is open book, open note, open internet. You have like 3 hours to do it. You have the whole last week of the class to use those 3 hours. You know, it's possible to get less than an A on the final, but it's not probable if you put even minimum effort into it. So far, nobody has failed it. Uh, so yeah, nothing to be afraid of there. Usually people hear the term final exam and they just tense up, and you know, no reason to be tense about this one. Anyway, but you do only have one chance. So make sure that you use that chance well. Just about everything else you have multiple opportunities on. The lab tests you have a couple of tries, the labs you have like 5 tries, and you can have more if you really want to. You just have to ask. The quizzes, I already said, you can do those as many times as you want. Anyway, once all those points are added up and weighed, the standard grading scale applies. 90% or better for an A, 80% or better for a B, 70% or better for a C, 60% or better for a D, and we won't talk about anything other than that. Okay. Back to the late policy. Again, those due dates, that's for full points. Most everything will still be available for another week, but those points start to diminish. It's like 3% per day. So it's ideal to get them in before midnight Sunday of the week that it's due. So that way you have the opportunity to get every last point. So, but life happens. That's why I put the grace periods on. I know that better than most people. I think I've got everything under control, and then I find myself spending 3 days in the ER with my son, or with myself sometimes. Who knows? Things happen. At any rate, the grace period is there to, help you if life happens to you. But try to get them done, by the due date so that you can get all the possible points. I mean, as a grade grubber myself, I always want to get every last point I can possibly get. And again, weeks begin first thing Monday morning. Well, they actually begin just after midnight on Monday morning, although I don't get around to changing that homepage until I'm up and have my first cup of coffee. So about 8 o'clock in the morning, that will change. But the stuff is all available. It's all available anyway. Anyway, weeks begin on Monday morning, end on Sunday night. Okay? Drop policy. This sounds really hard-nosed, and I'm really not very hard-nosed. I'm a real soft touch for things, but get stuff taken care of. Get those My IT Lab accounts set up and fully activated, so I don't have to threaten to drop you if you don't do it. I had a couple of students the first 9 weeks that just couldn't seem to get their act together, and they kept begging for more time, and I'm a soft touch, and they never did anything about it. Wound up at the end of the semester still on my roster, so I had to flunk them. I don't enjoy doing that. It doesn't make me feel good. I'm sure it didn't make them feel good. And I mean, they were probably going to repeat the class anyway, but and again, I know life happens, and sometimes it happens hard. So anyway, behavior policy and cheating policy. I mean, behavior policy in the discussions. Be polite, be friendly, appreciate your fellow students' point of views, even if you disagree with them. Cheating policy. There is really not anything that you could cheat on in this class. There is one way that you could cheat, and that is by trying to use somebody else's file for one of the practical exams. Okay? If you know somebody else that has already taken this class, or know somebody that's taking this class concurrently with you, whether they're in this section or not, the things are the same. And I've had students try this in the past, even in face-to-face classes. They tried to upload somebody else's file for the practical exam. But those files are marked. When you download them, they're marked with your student information. So if you try and upload somebody else's file, I'm going to get an alert that that file didn't match your student information. And I'm going to go, why? It wasn't that hard. And I pretty much gave you all the answers, which I did. If you look on the Canvas pages for those practical exams, you will see a PDF of what your result should look like. Doesn't necessarily tell you exactly how to make it look like that, but I will entertain questions. And I can't do more than that. So there's really no point in cheating, because the only person you're cheating is yourself, which is true of any kind of cheating, really. What are we going to lose by it? You're the one that loses. The computer network equipment use policy, it applies to things that you download from our services, like the Office application. It's more specifically geared towards if you go in to use the labs on campus, which, if you don't have a Windows computer, is certainly an option to do those practicals, rather than struggling to get by on an Apple computer, because it won't really work very well, or trying to borrow a computer at any rate. So, read that. Students with disabilities policy. If you have a verified need for an academic accommodation, we're happy to accommodate. We're delighted to accommodate. That's what we do. But you have to go through the right channels. You need to go through student services, disabled student services specifically, to get that need verified and get the accommodations specifically laid out, so that I know what it is I need to do to help you. Yeah, delighted to do so. Just, we have to jump through the proper hoops to make it happen. And again, as far as meeting with me, beyond today, we don't have any set class meetings, or, well, Wednesday afternoon, but you guys are all here, so you don't have to be here Wednesday afternoon. I'm delighted to set up meeting times other than my regular office hours, if that would work better for you. Do not hesitate to ask, because if you need help with something, I want to help. I'm happy to do that. That's what I'm here for. So don't hesitate to ask. I mean, a lot of times, if you just message me with your question, or send me a screenshot of what's not working, we can get your problem fixed that way. We don't necessarily have to meet, but if you'd like to, happy to. The last bit of the syllabus is basically a schedule. Oh, those are old. I don't know why those meetings don't go away. Here's our new ones there. And then just everything by the due dates. This doesn't allow for those grace periods. So this is just the actual due dates themselves. And those are all links to the page for that thing. So you can, use this to look at everything. Okay. And of course, if you look at your grades sheet, I'll just go over and pop to that so you can see what that looks like. That has everything in order by due date as well. And as you get those completed, your scores will show there. So, that's a good way to see how you're doing on things. Bear in mind that the ones that are the MyLab assignments, the things that happen in MyLab, those won't show up here until I move the scores over. So you need to keep that in mind and not worry if it doesn't show up immediately. All right, let's take a quick look over at MyLab. All right, here is the page for Pearson. This is what shows up when you come into your account. You should see a box for every course that you're enrolled in. I, of course, have 2 CIT-12s. I'm going to open that up. Do I see something in the chat? Was there a question? Just a thumbs up there. Okay. All right. Is this in student view? Maybe not. Yeah, it's got some instructor stuff. We'll move into course materials, and then it will look more like student view. There is, hang on, let me back up a little bit. There is a an assignment calendar. I strongly suggest that you not use it. You will find it more confusing than course materials. Course materials is where you want to go for everything. Everything that you need to do is here. Starting with another course materials, which seems a little bit redundant, but this is where your textbook is. Okay. So, oh, and there's also a set of PowerPoint presentations that you can watch if you're just fascinated by PowerPoint presentations, or you'd rather listen to a PowerPoint presentation than read the book. You know, maybe you would find that a better way to approach the material. It's entirely up to you. At any rate, there's your regular textbook. There's the textbook having to do with applications. Oh, and that reminds me, when you're using these, both the textbook and the simulations, you need to make sure that your pop-up blocker is turned off in your browser, either specifically for this site or just completely turned off, because everything opens up in a pop-up window. Also, MyLab gets along very well with Chrome and Firefox. Not so much with other browsers, but Chrome and Firefox are both free, and they both work on both Windows and Apple computers. So there's no need to use anything else. Okay. Just, you know, we want to do the one that is going to get along with it the best. So anyway, your textbook is there. I believe I put a video on Canvas about getting in and using your textbook, and or maybe it's in the one on using my IT lab, but there's some guidance to the features that are there in the textbook. It's a pretty good textbook. I like it, and I like the e version of it. It's easy to use, easy to navigate. Okay, let me go back to course materials, my course. Okay. Everything else is the simulations and the exams, and those are divided up by application. So if you click on Windows 10, you will find that there is, why is that there? That you don't have to do the blue one. Do the green ones. I'll get rid of that later. Well, you can see it's not scheduled. So do the green ones. Those are the ones that your grade is based on. It says exam, but I put the training into them so that you could learn in them. What I figured was, for those of you that have some experience using this environment or using these applications, you already know how to do a bunch of this stuff. Although I did see a few comments from students in the first half of the semester saying they thought they knew a lot about Word until they did these simulations and realized they didn't know that much. At any rate, I don't see why you should have to sit through instruction for something that you already know how to do. So the training is there. You can use it as you need it. So when an instruction tells you to do something, you know how to do that, you do it. Okay? The next instruction tells you how to do something you don't know how to do. Click on the training, watch the demonstration, read about it, have it walk you through the steps, however you want to do it. The video will guide you through that process of using those trainings so that you can, you know, learn where you need to learn and just do the things that you already know how to do and not waste your time. because I have a strong aversion to wasting people's time. I mean, there's a certain amount of it I've got to use, but I can streamline that. So at any rate, so you'll find more than one, like Word. There are 3 of them. There's 3 PowerPoint, 3 Excel as well. So I would do them in order too, because that makes sense. Don't bounce around. And you have multiple attempts on them. So if you're not thrilled with your score on the first one, you can do it again. Although, because I've got the training turned on, if you keep getting something wrong, and that could be just because the simulation is being a complete jerk, because a lot of times it seems like you're doing exactly the thing it tells you to do, and yet it keeps telling you you're wrong, because simulations are really frustrating. Um, Sometimes it's just you didn't have your insertion point quite in the right place. Yeah. At any rate, if you use up your number of attempts on a task, the trainings will automatically kick in, and then it will give you more attempts. So, and if you just really get bogged down in something, just save your work up to that point, pop me a message, and we'll get together on Zoom and look at it and see if we can figure out what's going wrong. I don't want you guys to get super frustrated with these, and simulations can be super frustrating. So, uh, pull that plug before you get to the point where you're flinging things at the walls. The last section is exams, and this is where you're going to find the office hands-on tests. Now, there's one for each application. So go through the PowerPoint simulations, then come here and do the PowerPoint test. Then go through the Word simulations, then come here and do the Word hands-on test. Yeah, they're presented in that order in Canvas and in the modules. So, this is where those hands-on tests are. Again, here you're going to download files that you will work on in the real software, and then come back here to upload your results. And then, of course, the last thing is the final, but that is not available yet. See, nothing there. So you won't see that until the final week of the course. Okay. So that's everything that you need to know here. I mean, obviously, it's not everything you're going to get in and explore. Let me back up to my courses. If you have used the 14-day free trial, when you come in here and you see the box for your course, there's going to be a little pink box, like right in the middle here, that tells you how many days you have left in that 14-day free trial. And when you are ready to pay, or you have an access code from the bookstore, you click on that pink box to fully activate your account, either by using that access code or by paying for it. And you can use a credit or debit card or PayPal to pay for that, or of course an access code that you have purchased from the bookstore, which I don't recommend. So just so you know that that's where you go if you have used that 14-day free trial and are ready to fully activate that. Now, let me just check my list and make sure that I have covered everything that I wanted to cover. Course materials, exam. Oh, before I let you guys go, if you would all do me a favor and go into the chat for the Zoom meeting and type in your full name and your student ID number. That way I will have a complete list of everybody that attended these meetings, so that I can then send out messages to those that weren't able to attend, to remind them that there will be a recorded version available for them to look at and see if they missed anything. So if you all could click on the chat and do that, I would appreciate it so very, very much. And in the meantime, I'm going to stop my share and come back to our Zoom window. and see if anybody has any questions for me or concerns about anything. I'll open up the chat window so I can see if anything pops up there if you'd like to ask that way. Get my regular glasses on. The glare off of these things is so bad from my screen. Okay. So, any questions or concerns? Again, never hesitate to contact me if there's anything that you need help with, even if it seems like, you should have been able to find it in the syllabus or, somewhere in the course module or something, and it's just not clicking for some reason. Um, you know, I'm happy to answer questions at any time. Um, and I usually keep my iPad, which has Canvas loaded on it, sitting next to me while I watch TV and knit in the evenings. So even if it's, fairly late at night, I will probably see a message and I may respond to it right away. So you never know, you might get help sooner than you expected. So no questions or concerns? Probably as you start getting in and doing things, you will have them, and that's reasonable. Should see two more. No, one more. Who am I missing? Yes, Edith, yes. Angela, Nadia, yes. Mark. No, Mark. Mark went for coffee.
Oh, I'm sorry, what happened? Oh.
That's Mark, if you would just be so kind as to put your full name and your student ID number into the chat for me, please.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's all I need is just, so it's, again, so I have a record of everybody that was here at one of these meetings, so I don't ned you unnecessarily to watch the recording, because why would you do that? Yeah. Appreciate it. Thank you,
Alright, I
Mark.
put it in.
Okay, thank you very much for your time this evening. I will let you go, and I hope I didn't bore the socks off of everybody. And again, don't hesitate to contact me if you have questions as you start getting into things. I'm almost always here. Thank you. Have a good rest of your evening. Bye-bye.